You've probably heard about plagiarism in one way or another in almost all of your college classes, and have a feeling you started learning about it before that. Sometimes when we hear about something that much, we can forget what we know, though, and maybe take it for granted so much that we don't realize what we don't know. I hope that by talking about plagiarism in the context of sources of information and citation formatting helps you think about it in another way to avoid problems. Some types of plagiarism are obvious, like turning in work that someone else completed or copying and pasting without giving credit. Other forms of plagiarism are more subtle, but still represent situations where the writer doesn't accurately communicate the source of ideas. The key idea here is that we want to give full credit for the source of words and ideas, so using a citation is not always enough. If we copy from another source without using quotation marks, but with a citation, we're giving the reader the impression we're somehow building on or adapting the ideas from the source. There's a similar concern if we change some words but use the same sentence structure, sometimes called thesaurus paraphrasing. If we're thinking about giving credit for thoughts and ideas as well as words, we need to make sure we're thinking about the type of source we're looking at. Secondary sources frequently include ideas that are unique to the authors, but those ideas are based on findings and thoughts of other authors, and the work of others is typically cited in explaining the logic of the unique idea. That can make it tricky to determine who gets credit for ideas in secondary sources, which is part of the reason I'll encourage you to focus on the parts of the journal article that are primary sources, the ones related to the results. The interest in accurately conveying the source of ideas in words is reflected in APA-style citation formatting. We use a slightly different citation format for quoted information compared to non-quoted information. There's also a special format for each type of source, including one to use when we can't obtain an original source. So where's the good writing part come in? When we're using primary source information, concerns about plagiarism seem to be one of the reasons student authors include sentences like the one in this slide. That sentence structure makes the source of the ideas very clear and does so in a way that conveys it's all them. This is a structure I refer to as reporting because it pretty much just states who found what. In some cases, the structure is a good choice. Sometimes a direct statement of findings can make an important point that isn't as effective if we paraphrase or are less direct. Not all findings are meaningful, though, when they're directly stated, and it can be really hard to read a paragraph when all of the sentences are structured like this. The structure we can think of as summarizing focuses on the specific content of the primary source, like reporting, but uses more of the author's own words. This structure is somewhat easier to read than reporting, but it's close enough to the original source for the author to be comfortable the information's accurate without being plagiarized. From one perspective, it can seem like it should be relatively easy to avoid plagiarizing. Just don't copy and paste. Make sure to use the correct citation format for the source. Sometimes it's a little trickier, though, to do that without writing in a way that can be pretty hard to read. We'll work with different ways about writing about primary source ideas in an upcoming module. So for now, you can just focus on familiarizing yourself with what you need to know to avoid accidental plagiarism.